Welcome to the Latched On Podcast. The Latched On Podcast is about the outdoors in Appalachia. Everything from hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, bushcraft, and woodsmanship, and digging into the depths of what makes this area of Appalachia so unique as a whole. It's time to strap in for the Latched On Podcast. Welcome to the Latched On Podcast. I'm Andrew with Zach here, and we're going to talk about a kind of a running series. We're just going to do the first part of it right now. It's kind of going to be segmented in between other episodes, but it's going to be called How to Be a Better Woodsman. And it's going to be like a general conversation of like generally what we're talking about. So I would say this is more like the core subject matter of everything we've ever done.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
How do we be a better woodsman?
I do woodsman stuff.
Wow. All right, guys, that's the end of the podcast.
Yep,
Thanks for
that's
listening.
That's all you need to do. No, there's a lot that goes into it, and that's one thing I've been focusing on. Neither one of us were raised when we were young kids to be hunters and stuff like that. So I've been working on myself being a better woodsman in general, and in a lot of different ways. I mean, from knowing trees to knowing wildlife, the habitats.
My biggest thing is, like I said, we weren't raised into it. Now, I did do Boy Scouts and all stuff, so I learned a lot in Boy Scouts, and you learned a lot on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest thing is figuring out, like, I'm having a brain fart. I literally just had it, and now I forgot it. But, I mean, pretty much is like, all right, let's put it this way. My grandfather, he hunted, but he stopped hunting before I was born. My dad never hunted because my grandfather at the time was on a hoot owl shift. Never got to spend time with him and all that stuff, so he never got to teach him how to fish, how to hunt, all that stuff. I always fished, and I did outdoorsy thing. I didn't even hunt until after I got out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my biggest thing, and I think you did it too with your YouTube channel when you had it open, is my first goal when I started the channel was I wanted to be that kind of guy who's learning while he's doing it, and hopefully somebody else can learn from it.
Yep.
And then in a respectful way, critique me and teach me a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
And now the channel's got multiple people in it, including you, including Skylar, including Tanner, all them people. And now we're getting to come out with a bunch of content starting this year of where we're hopefully going to be able to do that, of where everything we do, like in our hunting show, Latched the Hunt, it may not be like, I don't know, I don't even watch a lot of hunting. You know, ironically, I don't actually watch a lot of hunting shows.
Yeah.
But we're not killing everything every episode.
Yeah.
Because we're teaching ourselves how to do it the whole time. Because I don't care if you've been hunting for 20 years, you always learn something new every time you go in.
Yep.
So that's our goal, and being a better woodsman is something that doesn't apply to hunting.
It's almost undefinable.
It really is. It's like an enigma.
Yeah.
It's like how to be a better human.
Yeah. How do you do that? Yeah, there's no specific way, because you don't have to hunt the first day of your life and you can be a great woodsman. You don't have to, and that's what people don't understand. It's not just we gear it toward our hunting because that's our biggest passions here. It can be from hiking to camping, to just harvesting, gardening, homesteading.
I'm big into that.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what both of us. That's what we got, a big garden plot for this year. We've already got some of our. You've seen the milk jugs outside. We already got some of our seeds started.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to start next week.
Yeah, that's what we're. Just those things are being better woodsmen. It's just getting back to your roots and just knowing how to use the earth and the environment.
My biggest thing is, especially in this information age of like the 21st century and all that stuff, I think that us as a society, we are the more, well, I take that back actually. There's a part of it like that started really probably started in the early 1900s, of this progression, this progressivism of we don't need to live off the land, we don't need to farm, we don't need to ranch, we don't need to do this, we don't need to hunt, we can live in the cities and do everything, do normal 9-to-5 jobs, whatever like that. And now, I think it has. Say what you will about reality TV, fake, real, whatever. Shows like Mountain Man, the Mountain Man that came on History Channel. Shows like, Survivor Man,
Life Below Zero,
the Alaska and the Last Frontier.
Yep.
I recently really started liking that Homestead Rescue show.
Mm-hmm.
It may be dramatized or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but I still learn interesting things on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think shows like that, and then also, especially our generation is the millennials, because I've been, listening to other podcasts and voice clips of people talking about the millennial generation is an enigma in general, because we should keep on being more technological. But it seems like millennials want to be left alone, and and a lot of millennials are
referring back to the older,
regressing, not in a bad way, but they're regressing more to
old school, for the lack of better terms.
Old school. And a lot of your millennials are doing it in a hippie way, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I've always said I'm a hippie with a gun.
Yeah.
In terms of everything that I believe in, but like. You're seeing it seems like to be a regression of going back to things of how they used to be.
Yeah.
And I've recently got back into gardening. My papa always gardened, always had a little garden plot. And when I got out of high school and I was going to college, I still lived around here. Like officially my address was still my parents' house, but I pretty much lived out of my car.
Yeah.
Because I was so mobile, fishing, hunting, hiking, and all that stuff. I wasn't in the same place very long.
Yeah.
I just came by and
kind of
stayed
nomadic
for a couple of days. I was kind of nomadic. I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. But now, married, got kids. I've got to be looking at that homesteading thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like both of us, we both have chickens, and we stuff like that. And that's what, when we talk about Better Woodsman, we'll probably go more in depth on different episodes, parts in this series. Right. But just being a better woodsman is not just, it's used a lot in the hunting industry about hunting in general, learning the thermals, learning the winds, how deer use the habitat in different places. We're in the Appalachian Mountains, so that's important to us about the thermals. That's a big thing to us. People out in the Midwest, when it's flat, thermals really don't mean anything because whatever the wind's doing is pretty much what the thermals do out there. Now, I know that's generic. That's a very generic way of putting it, but it is a little different out there. But we have to know those things, but we're also talking about being a woodsman is not just that. It's being able to accrue things on your own and not rely on fast food, and box stores and everything else. Because if it's fast, it's probably not good for you. I mean, you know what I mean?
I think I followed a guy on TikTok one time, and he actually said that if you go to like a Walmart or a Food City or any kind of grocery store, everything, and I started noticing when I started going to stores, everything that's on the outer edge of the store is the good stuff.
Yeah, so
vegetables are always over here.
Yep.
Then it rounds around to meat, and then rounds around to eggs and milk and all that stuff. But everything in that middle
is processed,
usually processed in junk.
Yeah. So the exact same thing is used on the CrossFit side. So if you don't know, I'm pretty heavily into the working out and just CrossFit-ish style stuff. But I've taken a lot of nutrition classes, and one of the main things, I think it was actually a CrossFit. It was a article from like the official, company CrossFit. Right. It was a nutrition article, and they talked about shop on the outer edge of the stores. Yeah, that was they use the exact same thing.
The reason why I go on the inner edge of the stores is to look for bread.
Yeah,
and
it's, if you think about it, like even in our Food City though, it's on the outer edge.
Yeah,
it's just
on the
past
outer edge of those aisles.
It's literally on the outside aisle of the thing. Walmart's a little different, but
even though I'm not ketogenic and all that stuff, I always get keto bread.
Yeah,
I try to stay away from as much carbs as possible because the way I look at it is carbs breaks down to starch, and starch breaks down to sugar.
Depends what carbs you get too.
I mean, it's always
if you can grow carb in your garden, it's probably good for you.
Oh yeah, corn carbs, good.
Yeah, green. All your greens and
any
stuff.
Kind of carb that you grow is good. Yeah,
and that's what you got to learn. That's what people talk about, like you said, keto and just killing all carbs. Well, that's not necessarily what you need because you need carbs for energy too. So, but just and that's more in depth on the nutrition side. But getting away from
another podcast.
Yeah, getting away from what we're after, but. Yeah, so just being a better woodsman in general, and like I said, we're taking up a garden this year. We both have eggs. We chickens are laying really good this year too. This winter,
I had a issue with my chickens back in, I want to say during hunting season. They weren't laying shit.
Was it the feed?
I don't know.
There was that thing on.
That's what I've been seeing.
Somebody's seen on
I never
TikTok.
changed my feed.
Okay.
I always buy the chicken scratch, and then I buy the pellets, and I always do 1 scoop of each, and I feed them all that way. Now I do feed them a lot of kitchen scraps, and all that stuff, so that may actually help them.
Yep.
And I do remember way back when I wasn't feeding as much kitchen scratch as I used to.
Yep.
But now they're laying I'm getting 9 to 12 eggs a day.
Yeah.
Out of 17 chickens. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what we have.
I'm making too many eggs enough to eat. I can't eat them all.
Yeah.
I'm having to give them away.
Yep.
I should start selling them or, invest in egg futures as a stock market because, the price of eggs are through the roof.
Yeah. At the time of this, they definitely are.
Yeah. I could sell eggs for $2 a carton and be making money off of it. And they're selling them at Walmart for $6.
Yeah. And these are better. And that's what.
And mine are free range.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the way ours are.
Wants to buy eggs off of me. They're free range. No.
But yeah, doing that, the gardening, I took up canning this past year.
I'm going to take up canning too. Well, we froze a lot of what vegetables we did grow. We froze them.
Okay.
And but I did get a pressure canner.
Yep.
And so we're going to start canning our own vegetables this year because we're going to we moved to a new house. This August will be 2 years. So we did a very small garden. I built a few raised beds and I just grew cabbage, leeks, some lettuce, spinach, tomatoes, and some green beans. I didn't go crazy.
Yeah.
It was just small little garden beds. The funny thing about it is leeks, I grew them one time before I moved, and they lasted a whole winter. They lasted through a winter. They're because they're still considered perennials, but we had that hardcore frost at Christmas time. It killed them all off.
Oh, okay.
I don't even think they could survive that.
I don't think anything good. That was bad.
That was a bad one. It was what did it get down to? -10?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was pretty bad around here, and that's pretty cold for around here. We usually
we
don't
get in the singles a couple times.
Yeah, a couple
at
times
most.
a year, sometimes in the teens, but you can usually count how many times you get in the teens on your hand.
Yeah, we were in the negatives.
Yeah, that was a thing you don't see a lot of times. But we froze our green beans, froze our cabbage, and I've actually become a big proponent on cabbage. I used to hate it as a kid. Now I freaking love it.
We put cabbage in all kinds of stuff. You can cook cabbage in a very unhealthy way too, and it's delicious.
Oh yeah, bacon grease.
Yeah.
Anyway, actually, bacon grease is actually pretty healthy for you if you look at it.
Compared to vegetable oil that's made in a chemical factory and it's not even a real thing.
The only oil that I will buy from the store that is what you would consider necessarily a seed oil would be olive oil. But I try to stay away from vegetable oil, any kind of other oil. If it's coconut or olive oil,
avocado. They sometimes
avocado too,
they got avocado oil too. Avocados are really good.
That's I'm not telling you how to live your life, but if you look at the research on vegetable oil, I'd stay away from it.
Yeah,
because I've never seen oil come out of a green bean.
Nope. But yeah, all those things. I started canning deer meat, and that was one of the best things I've come across.
That's one of the best ways to preserve deer meat.
Yeah, it lasts for years.
Years. I think I ate my last can of deer meat last year from a deer I canned 7 years ago.
Yeah,
and it was still great.
Yep.
It's already pre-cooked. All you got to do is warm it up.
Yep, warm it up, and that's what I made. I started doing that roast in a jar, and so I put the meat in the bottom. It's super quick. Quarter of an onion, the little finger carrots, quartered up, or I diced up potatoes into chunks, and then put meat, and it's raw packed. If you know what I'm talking about, it's raw packed, so that makes more sense to you. And then put meat on the top, a beef bouillon cube, and then a half a teaspoon of onion powder, garlic powder, and cannon salt, and that was it. And then it's completely cooked, and it's a roast when you pour it out in the thing. And me and you we'll have that at deer camp and everything this year.
Yeah.
And then the other, I was canning 16-ounce pint jars of just salted deer meat, and I use it for meal preps. So we'll make rice for 2 or 3 days that I got to work.
That's perfect.
And then I take it with me and then put it on there and just put on some sriracha or some hot sauce or something. And it's a super healthy, super clean. I know where every bit of my food come from.
Biggest thing I did with my deer heart this year, I cut it up into little steak strips and then prepackaged it. And I got it out actually a couple weeks ago and fried it up and cooked it and made deer tacos out of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like sriracha sauce. It was like that Mexican hot sauce you can get at the Hispanic aisle.
Yep.
It's not super hot like Tabasco.
Yeah.
But it was
just enough. Yep.
Oh God, it was good.
And that's all these things go into the Woodsman side of it, is from cooking to harvesting to growing your own food.
I would say the simple way of a woodsman is a little bit more of a added on to being just self sufficient.
Yeah.
The way I've always looked at being a woodsman is you look at what's outside at the time of year, and it's like, what can I do outside?
What can I use? What can I use from the earth that's not going to hurt it?
Exactly. Like your worst time to look for stuff in the woods is January through March, or January until March. There's still stuff out there.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot more. Like right now, we're recording this. It's middle March. Things are really starting to amp up for us in terms of what we can use out in the woods in terms of wild forage, edibles, wild edibles, not the other kind of edibles, and stuff like that. Like right now, we're getting ready to look at. I don't know if you noticed this, but like wild onions, they grow all the time.
Yeah,
that's something you can get all the time.
I'm not a big onion guy, but I've used wild onions before to cook with.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those. It's not something that I'm saying. You know, you're out in the middle of the woods. Oh, there's some wild onions, and you eat nothing but wild onions. When I eat wild onions, I use it as a garnish for something I'm already eating. Like if I catch a trout, I'll cut up some wild onions with it, fry it with it, and all that stuff. Adds a lot of flavor to it. Right now, at the time this recording, ramps are coming in, which is wild leeks. They have an oniony taste to them, but you can mix them with like a potato soup, and they're really good.
Yeah.
Mushrooms, dryland fish, morel mushrooms, they're getting ready to come out.
Yeah, I seen somebody post on YouTube. I don't know where he was at. I haven't watched it yet, but he found some on March 1st this year already.
Yeah, I think they're coming out a little bit earlier this year. I actually went to my property where I usually find them out. I think I went Friday, maybe. Yeah, Friday. I didn't see none yet, but that doesn't mean anything. Like I'm expecting probably in the next week or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to start looking now. And then because we talked about that real cold frost we had was it December? Yeah. So our late winter here, and what we consider late winters, the January up to March frame, we've not had as much snow as normal. It's been wet though. It's been as wet as normal, but it's not been snow. It's been mostly rain, and it's been getting chilly. But it's been a really wet.
Seems like every time it was cold, we just never had snow. We had never had moisture to connect with it.
So every time it was below freezing, it was sunny.
It's been definitely cold enough to have a lot of snows. It's just the weather patterns never.
Yep, they never lined up. But and what that created though was a really wet late winter. And which is, like we said, is probably going to come out. And we've had a couple of warm days. Last week we had a couple of days that were up in the 60s. One day hit 70.
Yeah, I think one day hit 70.
So, and then with all that wet too, that's going to start sprouting those morels, and which I'm more familiar with those than anything else.
That's the only mushroom I really like. I'm 100% I dabble with.
Yeah.
Now coming August and September, I know a buddy. He's a real big mushroom guy. I know that like chicken of the woods and hen of the woods. Out. Those are easy to find, and especially when we're deer hunting in October. And I'm going to try to actually early hunt more than I usually keep September out of my purview with hunting. But this year I'm actually going to try to dove and squirrel hunt in September.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep my eye out for hen of the woods and chicken of the woods. It's definitely something to look at, which that'll be another episode about squirrel hunt. I got a real big subject about that, but that's for another time. But it's a big thing about like what we can find that we can use in the woods at the time. Like from January till now, about all you can really do in my mentality as a woodsman is...
Well, I like to winter scout for deer.
Winter scout for deer. That's about all you can do.
Yeah, you can blow them out, and it doesn't matter if you blow bucks out of their bed because you got half a year.
Yeah, you got like 7 months for them to figure.
For they'll go back to normal. But because in October they're going to sleep in different. Generally, they're going to sleep in different places than they do in October than they do in winter. And say December. So now's the time to figure out where they're sleeping in December for that late season hunting, and you're not going to really bother it. July is when you're going to go in there and look for where they're bacheloring up and where they're sleeping at for October frame.
Yeah.
So,
so like right now, on like just a woodsman standpoint, like starting in March, like I said, I'm going to start looking for more foraging. Also look for antler sheds, especially before turkey season. Hunt turkey, obviously. When I'm hunting turkey, in Virginia it ends at 12. So being a good woodsman, I would say, kind of goes into that bushcraft background that me and you had, which I think would be a really good edge that we would have when we go backcountry hunting, because we know how to use things and get by with things that other people don't.
Less is more.
Yeah, less is more.
Yep.
That's my mentality about almost everything.
Yep.
And the summer is, of course, like our best time for anything outside of hunting, because all your wild edibles are out in late spring, early summer. You can fish, you can summer scout for hunt, and it's also your growing season if you're going to garden. And I still gotta plow my ground up, but I think I'm afraid I'm not gonna have a chance to because it's so rocky. I'm gonna try here in the next week to get a plot ready for beans and corn.
Mm-hmm. We turned ours last fall. I had my uncle come turn ours with his tractor, and then I got to go buy a tiller because I still have to till it. But luckily, where it's turned, all that grass is dead, all the bugs and everything in it's dead. So it'd be a whole lot easier to till as well. Because first year we done it, we just tilled the grass and we were weeding. Me and the wife drove nuts. We were weeding every day. So this time it should be a lot easier to not have to weed nearly as much.
What are you planning on planting?
Oh gosh, I went and spent like $100 in seeds from Rural King during their.
I've done that before.
Well, they had like their 5-gallon bucket sale. It's 15% off anything you fit in a 5-gallon bucket.
I did the same thing.
So I went and spent like $100 in seed. Well, it was like $150 in seed. Well, not quite that much, but it was over $100 in seeds, and I paid right at $100 because I got everything 15% off.
Literally the exact same thing. I actually checked on Rural King, their Facebook page, and they posted, and somebody said, "Hey, is ammo included in the bucket sale?" And on the internet, Rural King said, "Yeah,
it was." Yeah,
and then I guess they sold so much of it that they quit as soon as I got there.
Well, I talked to them, and it was because they said normally they do let ammo go, where ammo has been more difficult to get at this time in the world, whatever. At this time, it's more difficult to keep ammo in stock and just get it in general. They didn't want to sell everything out and then not have ammo for a month.
And they would have.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody would have bought everything they had.
So, like I said, when I walked in there and found out ammo was not in the bucket sale, I was like, well, I guess who's going to the seed section and buying a bunch of seeds? So that's what I did. And I bought a bunch of seeds I probably didn't need to buy.
Oh, we want to do tomatoes, potatoes, beans. We want to try to get a lot of green beans, which we'll still end up probably buying some from a local farm.
I'd recommend Clintwood Farm Supply.
Yeah.
They sell a lot of pole beans.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we like Man's Farm down here in Fort Blackmore.
Fort Blackmore, okay.
They got the strawberry needs, man. They got some sweet exactly strawberries, yeah.
See, I thought about actually growing strawberries this year too, and I saw a setup of where you can get some old gutters.
Okay.
And just put dirt in them and plant strawberries in there.
Okay, that's cool.
So I got a nice retaining wall at my house with those railroad beams or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think about just drilling the.
I've seen that on something. Yeah.
Just growing them right there.
Yep, that's a good way to do it. We want to do that. We like peppers. We grow a lot of. Our jalapenos do great out here. So we had a lot of jalapenos. Cucumbers did excellent. The deer eat our beans to death, so I got to get electric fence this year.
Electric fence or ivory soap. The scent keeps them away.
Oh, really?
I use it on my cabbage and it keeps them away.
Okay, we got to do that. Our cabbage got eat up by caterpillars because we tried to not put any pesticides out.
I tried to do that first time I grew cabbage too, and I got it at the Clintwood Farm Store. I have to show it to you. It is a powder. Well, you can mix it with water and spray it, but I use it as a powder and let the rain just do what it needs to do. But it's about as unpesticidy as a pesticide can get.
Okay.
It concentrates on those green little caterpillar worm things.
Yeah, they just chew that lettuce and cabbage up.
I did it my first year, and I got them a little late, and I had to throw away about 2 heads of cabbage. And this year, I got to keep all my heads of cabbage, even though they ate through a little layer of it. And I caught it before it happened, and I never had a problem.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, so we're going to do that. There's so my mom's big into gardening and stuff, and she gave me this, it's like a seed Bible. It's insane. And it's like sticky notes everywhere in it to mark. There's some random pepper, and these are stuff like that are exotic too, that you can order, right? The seeds for them. And there's one pepper in there. They said it's similar to habanero, but it's not habanero, but it has a pineapple mango taste to it. And I love fruit and spicy stuff. Yeah. So we're going to order some of those. I can't even remember what the pepper's called. I'll have to look it up.
My wife said that she swore off tomatoes this year. All she ever does is she grows a bunch of tomatoes. Yeah. And I'm like, you never eat them. Why are you even getting the seeds for them? He's like, well, I'm just growing them. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I told her this year, I was like, are you going to get any tomatoes? She's like, no. I'm like, why not? And she's like, well, we don't ever eat them. I'm like, no, you never eat them.
Yeah, we did a lot. When we had our tomatoes did really well. We did a lot of fried green tomatoes. We'd pick them when they're green and just slice them up and fry them.
Salsa out of mine.
Yeah, and then we actually bought, or I think my mom gave it to us, a salsa kit. So it was pretty cool because you could order a pre-kit and it had like all your peppers and tomatoes and stuff.
So I had like this great idea when you said that thing about the mango or the mango spicy pepper.
Yeah.
I was like, I got a salsa idea.
Yeah.
Make some tomatoes.
It would be excellent.
I thought about smoking the tomatoes too, like charring them and then putting them in a smoker.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, we'll have to
collaborate on that.
Yeah, but that's it's definitely covered a lot. And that's what probably took an unexpected turn, what most people would think about Woodsman. But that's the thing is it's a very broad term.
Well, I mean, what did the first woodsman in America ever do?
Yeah.
They came back here, cut a swath of land, and started gardening.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as much as you want to say it, you can wild forage all year long. And as much as I hate to say it, you're never going to, especially around here, you're never going to get enough wild forage to supply you throughout the year.
Yeah.
There's only so much, like I hate to say it, but there's only so much wild game and wild edibles can get you.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to become self-sustaining and be that self-sustaining woodsman, you have to have a garden. And that'll be another subject for another time. But in more detail, we're just kind of glancing over everything. But like I would look at being a woodsman as being able to identify your different trees.
Yep.
Being able to identify the uses of those different trees. Like maple, it's a good wood to burn. Actually, right around now, it's a good time to tap them for sugar, for syrup. Birch trees, they're good to burn. And you
Fire
starter. You can tap them in April for their sap, and it makes like a watery, minerally type drink.
Oh, okay.
Actually, birch water sells in Europe for like $20 a bottle.
Oh, okay.
Like it's like a fountain of youth, supposedly.
Yeah.
Thing. I've tried it before. It tastes just like water.
That's cool.
Oak.
It's for everything.
It's for
building,
everything.
burning, whatever.
Build, burn, everything. Pine. As much as some people I've talked to when we had our property logged, I had a logger say, please don't regrow pine on your property or whatever it is. And I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah.
In a few sections, and they're like, why? And it's because it's a good privacy thing.
Yeah.
It's a cheap wood. It grows fast.
Yeah.
And if I need to cut it down and use it for anything, it's just
Yeah.
there.
And hickory for handles, tool handles and stuff like that.
Poplar, even poplar is good for stuff.
Yeah.
I think like before log cabins really became like a mainstream type thing when you had to build log cabins to eke out a living. I think most of your old log cabins in Appalachia were actually built out of poplar because it was a straight growing tree and it was easy to work with.
Yeah.
You can't let it touch the ground or get wet.
Yeah.
It starts rotting.
Yeah. It's pretty quick to rot.
It's pretty quick to rot. But like that's the thing, knowing your plants, knowing what's poisonous, knowing your animals and how they move and what's good, what like your kind of snakes. What kind of snakes are poisonous around here? Rattlesnakes, copperheads, and water moccasins and stuff like that. Well, it's important to know what the snakes look like.
Well, that too, and then like a lot of stuff I've been learning, like corn snake and copperheads look a lot alike, but it's not the same.
Very
you know,
similar.
Yeah, and which ones are good to have around? Like I used to catch black snakes and king snakes a lot, and I love king snakes because keep away a lot of venomous snakes.
It's true.
And I used to catch king snakes in the forest like near my home and bring them closer to and put them out and release them again and just to help keep away the other ones out of the yard for the kids and stuff like that, garter snakes and stuff. I'm drawing a blank. One thing I would do this past hunting season to try to be a better woodsman is when I was hunting, I go in, find a spot I want to hunt, I pick a tree, I climb that tree. If I didn't know what that tree was, I would it was easier in early season. I'd take a picture of the bark, take a picture of the leaves, and then I would come home that evening because most places I hunt don't have service, and I would try to identify it, and then I would read up on it, even if it was like on Wikipedia or whatever. Yeah. And what I would try to do is like its uses, where it grows, why it grows, what it's good for, when does it hold leaves, what's it, what animals like to.
It doesn't hurt when you go into the woods. Always take a notebook with you, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and like maybe you're not a good artist, but at least sketch out what the leaf looks like and then start taking notes on it when you get home to research it. And that way, when you see that tree in the future in the woods, you got like flashcards to look back on.
Yep. And, well, that's what I try to do, like one at a time. That way I was doing one at a time. I wasn't overwhelmed because I've read I got multiple books in there in the book cabinet about tree identifiers and stuff, and I just can't retain it. For whatever reason, it's just something that doesn't retain with me well. So I would do one at a time, like the yellow poplars we have here. We have a bunch of them. It's a very slick bark tree. They're very tall. They have usually minimal limbs, low. So that was a tree that I was in most of the year hunting.
They're good. They're technically, because they're such a soft barked wood, the platforms and stuff we use bites into it really good.
Yeah, they would do pretty good. If they're wet, they're slicker and snot.
Yeah, they're shit. They're shit.
So, but it was stuff I learned, and I learned it was yellow poplar. Now I can see a yellow poplar tree, whether it have leaves on it or not, and I know what it is.
I try to stay away from maple trees as much as I can when I'm climbing, though, because they have that slickish bark, especially the young ones, and they grow a lot of lichens and moss on them. And that stuff breaks apart really easily. Yeah, and it gets in your eyes and everything.
Oh yeah, you get covered in it.
I made that mistake like a month before hunting season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, this is just part one of like an introductory to how to be a better woodsman. We're already going to talk a lot more into detail about gardening, tree identification, edibles, all that stuff. And of course, all of this stuff will be in conjunction with a lot of stuff that we're publishing on our YouTube channel and all that stuff also. And we'll be, you'll check out our website. We'll have blog posts on there and everything. So, I mean, it's going to be a collaboration between multiple different media sources to bring this information together, because our mission here is, like I said, we want people to learn what we're learning and learn as we go, as you follow along with us, because I don't have all the answers. Zach doesn't have all the answers. None of us have all the answers. But if we can portray our area of the mountains in a positive way that gets people involved and they learn something from it, my mission's complete in life, because it makes people better woodsmen.
Yeah.
So we'll catch you on the next podcast, and thank you all for listening. Hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Latched podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed making it. Our episodes come out every 2 weeks, so stay tuned for the next one, and we hope to see you all next time.